Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos. Para una mejor experiencia, les solicitamos por favor que mantengan sus micrófonos muteados. Todo el material que presentamos puede ser utilizado para difusión y promoción. Muchas gracias y que disfruten del evento. Ataques.
Dwayne.
Asesinos.
Agente especial Dwayne Bright.
Y una pandemia.
Las proyecciones son malas y estamos empezando.
¿Sobrevivirán a una última temporada?
Esto no ha terminado.
Por supuesto que no.
Ncis New Orleans. Última temporada. En noviembre. Solo por A&E.
Muy buenos días, bienvenidos a otro evento de A&E, pura acción y emoción para toda América Latina. Así que hoy estamos sumamente contentos de tener aquí en nuestra casa y en nuestras series, las mejores series de CBS. Sí, todas las temporadas de estreno y todos los episodios de estreno solamente de Ncis LA y Ncis Nueva Orleans los podrán ver aquí en A&E. Y justamente tenemos la nueva y última temporada de Ncis Nueva Orleans, con el protagonista Scott Bakula. Pero antes de hablar con él, no se preocupen chicas, no se desesperen, ahorita llega, recuerda que pueden utilizar todo el material para promoción y difusión. De lunes a viernes, desde el 8 de noviembre hasta el último episodio del 29 de noviembre, podrán disfrutar de esta serie llena de acción y emoción solamente por A&E. Una cosa muy importante, son 16 episodios de esta última temporada y no querrán perderse ningún instante, porque todos están increíbles. Y ahora, sin mayor introducción, vamos a presentar un video que resume esta serie.
Haber hecho estallar mi bar fue un grave error. Ncis.
Dwayne.
¿Qué demonios es esto?
Es lo que les dije.
¿Es gracioso?
No hablas como un inocente. Eso es un...
Sí, seré tu esposa.
De verdad que eres una mujer muy inteligente.
Claro, estoy libre esta noche. ¿Y tú?
Deja el dinero.
Tu esposa no se preguntará por qué no llegas a cenar.
Es que ella ha afectado mi vida mucho tiempo.
Eso es cierto.
Dwayne Bright, ¿no? ¿No deberías estar tocando el piano?
Detén esto ahora. Tienes dos elecciones. Regresar al funeral o enfrentarme. Dios, adoro esta ciudad.
Bueno, y ahora quiero presentarles al presidente y gerente general de A&E Networks, Eddie Ruiz, para que nos comente un poco de cómo fue su experiencia cuando decidió comprar esta serie y conocer a Scott Bakula en persona. Vamos.
Gracias, César. Muy buenas tardes a todos. Voy a hacer esto en Spanglish para que Scott, que sé que nos está hablando, nos está escuchando y va a estar con nosotros un momento, entienda. So, hi Scott, I know that you're listening, and sure, soon you'll be on the screen with us, but I want to do this in Spanish and English so that you get the gist of it. Nosotros contratamos esta serie hace 8 años, cuando la primera se exhibió por primera vez en los estudios de Paramount de CBS en Los Ángeles, durante los LA Screenings del 2013 o 2014, porque creo que la serie comenzó en 2014, esto fue el año anterior. Y hemos disfrutado de 7 temporadas, 7 años de producción. Creo que son más de 155 episodios a través de las 7 temporadas, y este año concluimos con la temporada 7. Scott, I'm just referring to this. We made the decision to acquire the rights for NCIS New Orleans back in, I guess it was 2013, during a screening at the CBS Paramount Studios. In fact, I met you there, and once I get you on here, I'll remind you of our conversation, because we had a Loyola University connection between your son and mine. And we've been very fortunate to have for 7 years this fantastic series with an incredible cast. I personally, obviously, I have a personal connection to New Orleans, so I love New Orleans. But we've heavily promoted you as the star of the show. We promoted New Orleans as the star setting for the series, and could not have been happier with the results throughout Latin America, in Spanish and in Portuguese. So thanks to you and to the incredible cast and crew of NCIS New Orleans. We're sorry, to see you go, that the season ends, but I'm sure you'll be moving on to bigger, better things, and greater success as well. So thank you, everybody at NCIS New Orleans, for everything they did. Del lado de nosotros, lo más que hemos hecho estos 7 años es promover tanto NCIS New Orleans como NCIS Los Ángeles, que fuimos los primeros en adquirir esa serie, y todavía tenemos los derechos y continuamos transmitiendo, como mencionó César, todos los episodios de estreno de NCIS LA as well, como NCIS New Orleans. Así que sin quitarle más tiempo, César, creo que le vas a presentar un video de quién es Scott Bakula. Bueno, corramos por favor. This is a short video on Scott Bakula and his group. Thank you.
Scott Bakula es un actor de cine, televisión y teatro nacido en San Luis, Missouri. Desde 1977, cuando inició su carrera, ha participado en más de 35 producciones para cine y televisión. Una de sus actuaciones más sobresalientes fue la de un viajero en el tiempo, Sam Beckett, papel que le valió un Globo de Oro como mejor actor.
¿Qué rayos está pasando? ¿Ah?
Tom, cielo, ¿qué pasa?
¿A quién ves en el espejo?
¿A ti?
¿A mí?
¿Y a mí? Oh, me veo tan fea.
Bakula, además, es músico y lo ha demostrado dentro de algunas de las producciones donde ha participado. Una de ellas, NCIS New Orleans, en la que a menudo interpreta el piano y canta. Dentro de NCIS New Orleans, retrata al líder del equipo de investigación Dwayne Ray Cassius Pride. En más de 155 capítulos, su personaje se mostró como un oficial de justicia en esa ciudad sureña.
Agente Dwayne Pride.
Líder en la industria y en sus actuaciones, Scott Bakula es un referente del cine y la televisión.
Soy el gato que cazó al canario.
Y finalmente es el momento de presentarles al único, al incomparable protagonista de NCIS New Orleans, Scott Bakula. Scott, how are you? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, what we'd like to know in your own words is, who is Scott Bakula?
I'm a very lucky guy who's had a long career. I've gotten to play a lot of different things. I'm a stage actor. I'm a film actor. Um, and I've been able to bring music with me in a lot of the work that I've done, as I'm a singer also. And NCIS New Orleans gave me a lot of opportunities to combine all of those things. But I feel I'm a father. I'm a grandfather for the first time just a few months ago, 6 months ago. And that's kind of my favorite role that I'm playing right now.
But you come from a musical family, and every time that I want to ask where you come from, they always say, he's American, but he's Czech, she's German. Where you come from?
Yeah, I'm what we call in the States, I'm a mutt. I've got a lot of Czech, German, Scottish, a little English, some Dutch. I'm a mutt.
Talking about the math, we cannot take out of our mind for all good reasons quantum leap. What quantum leap meant in your career? You knew this question was coming. What quantum leap meant in your career?
Well, first of all, it was one of the most creative experiences in my career, and I was very fortunate to work with Don Belisario, who, ironically, of course, created the NCIS franchises, and he created Quantum Leap, as well as Dean Stockwell, who, as you all know, sadly passed away just a very short time ago. So the combination of getting that opportunity when I hadn't been in Los Angeles very long at all. And to get into a show of that caliber with those people, Brandon Tartikoff at NBC, it just was a kind of a magical time for me. Creatively, the show just exploded. It was difficult, but it was exciting, and I learned an incredible amount from so many different people on all sides of the camera, in front of and behind the camera. And it kind of set the table for me in terms of the rest of my career, because I became known for that, and in a positive way, and I've been able to lucky enough to be able to build on that and keep that kind of good momentum going. That we shot that back in 1988. That's when we shot the pilot for that, a long time ago.
And then after that, you did Star Trek Enterprise, another iconic role. So what is that meant to you?
Well, that was, people say, when you were a kid, did you always dream of being a Star Trek captain when you grew up? And I never did. I never thought that would even be possible to do that. I was a theater guy, and but I loved Kirk and Spock and that initial first run of Star Trek. That was my first involvement with the show, and I loved that show. And so when they called and said, you want to be a captain of a starship and be the first captain to go out into space 100 years before Spock and Kirk, I jumped at that. That seemed like that really lined up with what I felt I could do and do differently for the franchise, because there have been so many at that point. And it was also 12 minutes from my house. We never went on location. I was able to have somewhat civilized life. I had young children at the time, and it served me in many, many ways. But to be associated with those two shows, with Quantum Leap and Star Trek, certainly have made me a sci-fi, somewhat of a well-known sci-fi icon around the planet. And it's been a great ride. The sci-fi fans are the best.
You are called a cult actor. Every Comic-Con has your face on it. So I want to know now, like everybody else, what it means to you and how the role landed in your hands of Dwayne Pride King. How that happened?
I guess we started this journey about 8, coming up on 9 years ago now, and I just kind of got a call out of the blue. It wasn't anything I was looking for, but I knew the folks at CBS at the time very well. I'd been at them at Warner Brothers, and we'd worked together a bunch. And Nina Tassler was running the network at the time, and she called me, and my friends who were on NCIS also called me and said, "You got to do this show. You're gonna like this group of people." And I do what I do with everything. I talked with Gary Glassberg, who created this. He created our show. He along with Mark Harmon, and we talked about what the character was going to be, and the nature of the show, and shooting in New Orleans, and all the things that would bring to making a television show. And I was very intrigued by all of that, and it just kind of fit into my life at the time. And here we are now, 7 years of NCIS later. I never made a show that went over 100 episodes, and so there were a lot of firsts for me, and it was a very hard work, but a thrilling, creative time. I love the character. I love the guy, the real guy, Dwayne Swear, who was me. My character was based on, was a spectacular man, and embodied the spirit about New Orleans that I really wanted to portray also. And sadly, he passed away a couple of years ago. But he was the heart and soul of our show. And I did my best to live up to his reputation in the town, and his memory, and his enthusiasm, and his love for New Orleans.
Thank you for that. The new season, the last season, finale, it's really everything and more than we were expecting. And I don't want to bring any spoilers, but I was lucky enough to see it. And for the first time, I was never picturing your character like a ladies' man. And I realized that you're about to get married in this last season. And also your boss, your nemesis, that is called Sasha, who is nobody else but the amazing Callie Thorne, is coming back to your life and coming back to the series with necessary roughness, we have to say that. And she's bringing you the ultimate gift that a nemesis can give to a hero. What it means in this season that you are the father of the kid of your nemesis.
Yeah, well, it certainly is a twist, and it was hopefully it'll be a great surprise to the audience. It certainly was to my character, but obviously, Callie Thorne is a spectacular actor, and she and I have worked together for several years now, off and on the show. And she hasn't been around for a while because I put her in jail a few years ago. But she burst back onto the scene with a vengeance this year, and she is her tricky, confusing, very smart, but very calculating anti-hero. And the fact that it turns out that she and I we had a brief affair years ago before I was married. Actually, it was when I was separated from my first wife on the show. And she and I had a brief affair during that separation, and she kept this child a secret from me. Obviously, he was born into this mob family that she was a part of, and she didn't want me to have any part of him because she knew that I would try and take him away from her. And she was right about that. So it certainly adds a spin into the last part of the season it shocked a lot of people. And I think it plays very well. We have a great actor, Drew Scheid, plays our son, and that meshed up against this impending proposal to Rita and possible marriage. There's so much going on in the season. It's impossible to talk about, but it is an exciting season, all shot in the midst of the pandemic and with all kinds of protocols and safety issues, and very carefully calculated to be a show that we could make that would keep people safe, and we did that.
But talking about the pandemic was not only the protocols and the environment of the series, it was also part of the content of the series. How you did that,
Yes.
and how you feel like an actor to all of a sudden mix reality and fiction and become part of it.
Well, we decided that because the show was so much about New Orleans, that we couldn't ignore the pandemic because the pandemic hit New Orleans very hard. And one of our main characters, CCH Pounder, plays our coroner. And obviously, the coroners during the worst part of the pandemic were affected the most. And so to skip over that somehow and just jump ahead and pretend like nothing happened, it didn't seem like good storytelling. And I was lucky enough to be able to convince the writers and the network that I thought that we should go that direction. So we actually start the season in a bit of a flashback to just before the pandemic really hit the city. And we deal with retelling that story, how it affects and lands for all of the characters on our show, and how it affects Dr. Wade the most, how it affects law enforcement, all those issues, and then how it affects the city, because that again that city was the beating pulse of our show, and the city died. I call it the day the music died, and we couldn't shoot a scene with musicians live for all season until the very, very last episode. People couldn't sing, people couldn't play horns because of the concerns about the disease spreading. So there were so many issues involved with it, but again, it felt real. And yes, we were making a fictional show, but there's this pandemic has affected all of us, much as 9/11 affected the storytelling and the writing here in the States. This has affected us in another very, very powerful way. And I'm glad that we were able to still tell great stories, given the parameters that were forced upon us because of the pandemic, and at the same time deal with the pandemic in an honest way.
Before we go to the Q&A, I would like to ask you to invite all our audience around Latin America and Brazil to don't miss the last season of NCIS New Orleans, please.
Please, whatever you're doing, drop whatever you're doing and catch up with the final season of NCIS New Orleans. You won't regret it. It is time well spent, and it's our last season. So take the time, and I hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed making it for you.
Thank you. And before I go, I have someone who's dying to talk to you. So this is live.
Sure.
So, hi, Scott. It's Eddie here. Great to see you again. Again, thank you. It's been great having the honor of just getting having your show and having it all over Latin America. We're close to 80 million households through all the cable systems and satellite services throughout. From Mexico all the way to Patagonia and Brazil and everything. And we promoted you and the show extensively there, and you guys did very well for us ratings wise. And I'm curious to hear from you. I had mentioned to you, I went to school in New Orleans, and I did my bachelor and my master's degree there, and then my son was going the year after when you guys were starting. Do you feel any differently about New Orleans now, 7 years later, than before? I mean, how did that city really, impact you?
I feel completely different. I had no relationship with New Orleans prior to going down there. I'd shot a very short period of time on a movie based on a very famous Latin American movie. Then I can't remember the woman's name who starred in it, but it was Elsa and Fred, and it was Shirley MacLaine starring in the role that the Latin American actor starred in. But so we shot that in New Orleans, and I was there for a couple of weeks really, and so I didn't get a real strong vibe for it. But I'm a huge fan of the city. The music scene is unparalleled. The history of the city, the people who live there, this kind of everybody throws in and helps each other out, and it was a magical place. It's tough. It can be a rough city. Certainly, we had some hurricane issues the last year that we were there, but it's a beautiful place, and I'm looking forward to getting back. I have a lot of friends there, and it will be part of my life forever.
I go back every year, if not for Jazz Fest, I have many friends as well there. That city is magical.
Yeah.
There's something very
It is.
special, and the food scene is spectacular as well. So anyway,
Yeah.
you have a home in A&E Latin America on our network. You're always welcome, to come back and see you in new opportunities. So just wanted to say again, thank you and great success to you. And I'll pass back to Cesar and to the press that's anxiously waiting to ask you a few questions. All right. Take care, my friend. Good to see
Yeah.
you. Right.
Thanks so much for having us on and promoting us, and we appreciate it. I hope to get back there and maybe come and do something down there. That would be even better.
That would be
That would be
amazing,
awesome.
and this being recorded, so it's a promise.
All right.
Now, we are dying to have you in Latin America. Choose, pick your country, pick the city, and we're here for you. Now it's time for the Q&A. So let's do this and let's do it right. Mariana, vamos.
Hello, I'm good. How are you? Yeah, right. I would do another full length series. I would want it to be something as special as NCIS for sure. I don't have anything on the you know on my calendar right now. I've been taking a lot of time off. Obviously, the pandemic is still affecting us. I was hoping to go back to the theater, and that's just getting started back here in the States. But I'm not opposed to doing another long, a series. The biggest thing in my life right now, though, is my grandson is 6 months old, my first grandson, and we've just been fortunate enough to be able to spend a lot of time with him, and that's been my favorite project of this year for sure.
Next question, Mariana.
Hello, I'm great. How are you? Hmm. Uh, well, I think the thing that's, I was, I'm not a young man anymore in the business, so I don't have the opportunities that I used to have when I was younger. So I was an actor who was going from job to job and bouncing around a little bit and enjoying kind of things slowing down to a certain extent, and at the same time always looking for good work to do. And I never dreamed that this show that we were the third franchise on television here in the States after NCIS and NCIS LA. Didn't have any idea if it would be well received or not, but what I benefited from was this opportunity to spend so much time in New Orleans, and it rekindled my great love for music, for jazz, for live music, for rhythm and blues. And because I was in the show, I got to work with and meet so many of the musicians in New Orleans and from New Orleans. And I just have this renewed amazement at how skilled they were and how everybody down there is magnificent, and they just play music, and they play every night of the week somewhere. And that was so sad this past season that those clubs were shut down, but it rekindled my whole relationship with music, which is a big part of me.
Mariana, next question. Nicolás, vamos.
Hi, Nicholas. It was very hard to say goodbye, and to be totally honest, we didn't expect to be saying goodbye this season, so that made it even more difficult. It was a surprise that the network said that they wanted to move on to some other shows. So especially with all the struggles that we'd had during the year to make the show work in a safe workspace during the pandemic, it just felt it made it that much harder to get that phone call that we weren't going to continue because we had really succeeded during really challenging times. I love this character. I wasn't done with him. I enjoyed him. He was a challenge, and I look forward to working every day. And because I was also the executive producer on the show, I was working on being a better producer every day. So there was a lot. I always consider the work, doing work where you can learn something, and I was learning all 7 seasons for sure, and every day. And I miss that, and I miss the crew. I miss the cast. We got along very well, and I miss that being creative, not just in front of the screen but behind the screen. That's something I really enjoy.
Thank you. Next
You're
question,
welcome.
please.
Mhm.
Vamos, México. Yes.
Yes. Hello.
No, we're okay. We can hear you. Dímelo, Adolfo, yo te digo. Adolfo, dímelo en español. Adolfo, repítelo en español, por favor. What kind of hole or emptiness feeling the end of this series make to the entertainment world, especially under the new streaming environment that we're living in?
Well, my feeling about the future certainly is that these kinds of shows like NCIS and shows that are on that are being made 24 episodes a season, that they're going to be a thing of the past. It seems like the networks, the big networks, and the streaming places, they're going to focus on the shorter seasons because I think they can get an audience there that'll stay for 10 episodes, 13 episodes. This kind of mass-produced 24 episodes a year, it's hard to keep an audience around coming back every week to watch a show, certainly as it goes on for years after year after year after year. So I think that I've been lucky enough to do 3 big series that we made 20 to 25 episodes every season. But I don't think they're going to be around much longer. And it's a different kind of animal to work that long on that many shows and to have to keep a certain, that level of production, that level of storytelling going and at a high level. And I think that that's going to be a thing of the past. And I don't know, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not sure, but I know that there are so many wonderful shows that are streaming now in all the outlets, and they're shorter, and they seem to be able to kind of put everything into 10 episodes or whatever, and have a great 10 episodes, and then they go away for 8 or 9 months, and we sit around and wait for them to come back. That's the hard part. But I'll be curious. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it won't. Maybe my next television job will be on another 22 episode, 24 episodes a season show. But I don't know that that's going to be around much longer.
Thank you, Scott. Next question, please.
Everything's great. How about you? Good, good. Well, you're welcome. Yeah, it is difficult. It's oh yes, that's my sport. Yeah, yes. No, yeah. No, I was going to say that the creator of Enterprise, his sons played water polo, so that's why he had my character play water polo. Simple as that. Oh well, I got into a very big, very strong kind of work ethic that I that it felt like it was 24/7, but being in front of the camera, being behind the camera, the working with all the writers and all the different departments and casting and scripts and all the production issues of every day. I really enjoy that. I've done it a few times in my career, and I miss that creativity. It's intense, and it's for a long period of time. But you know, when you get to the end of a season, you feel like you've earned your 10 weeks off. And even though the creative people don't get 10 weeks off, but the actor gets 10 weeks off, and you really enjoy that. But I miss that, and I miss all the people that we worked with, and I miss being in New Orleans, to be totally honest. But I hope to get down there again and you know, do something else as equally as creative and as fun as that show. It'll be hard to top it though. Yes, that was a rough one. He was a wonderful man and just a brilliant actor. And I was so lucky to have. I had 4.5 seasons on Quantum Leap, and he was my guy, you know. And we worked together. Our families spent time together. I really got to know him and his history in the business and his views about the world, and we were very close. And he'll be dearly missed. Um, he was a treasure. He really was. And what a career! He taught me that never to take anything for granted, and to enjoy every day on a set, because you don't know when they won't be calling you anymore. And that happened to him 3 different times in his career, and that really. And he was humble about the whole thing, and he was gracious and generous to everybody around him, and just a great spirit. And well, I miss him dearly, and I loved him. He was a great man.
Thank you, Paulo. Muito obrigado,
Thank
yo.
you.
Te cuida, cara. Next question, please.
Hello. Yes, I can. Well, Well, yes, the car was great. The one element of the show I got to take home with me was my wife because she was on the show and she came home with me at the end. So I was very fortunate to have her on the show with me and here at home. Um, but in terms of something like the car, I don't know if you remember the True Tone sign in the bar. At the back of the bar was a big neon sign. It was old. Yeah. I have possession of that sign. So that means a lot to me.
So check, and done. Good one. Next question, please, Mariana.
Yeah.
Vamos, Chile. No se le escucha.
Oh, hello. Hi, Nestor. You too. Ha. Sure. First of all, I like quoting the Doors. That's a good song to quote, and one of my favorite bands. Um, the end of the season, it's a mixed bag. We didn't think we were going to end this year. We also didn't get to do a full season of shows because of we started late because of the pandemic. So it all felt abbreviated and a little bit, um, not the way you'd ideally like to have it go. But we were able to kind of rush some stories to the front and get them told before the show went off the air. My relationship with Rita really came into Pride's relationship with Rita really came forward into the front and center of the show. Sasha Broussard came back into the world, and she brought a whole bunch of mayhem with her and craziness, and we were able to deal with that. We dealt with my mother's health on the show because she had been fading from Alzheimer's and dementia, so we were able to deal with that. So we kind of were able to wrap the show up, and I felt good about that. It's hard to say goodbye, and at the same time, you're grateful for 7 years. I'd never done a series for 7 years before, so I was grateful for that. In terms of saying goodbye to Dean, I hadn't seen him in 4 years, and I was sad about that. But COVID got in the middle of things, and we were long distances apart. So the loss is magnified just because I hadn't been able to see him in a while. But life goes on. Death is part of life, and he had 85 years on the planet, and he made the most out of them. He got his money's worth. Two beautiful children that I love dearly, and he will be missed, but he has left a huge vault of things to watch and see and read about, and he created art, a lot of art, at the last few years of his life, and I saw a lot of that, and I happily have a couple of things that he made. He was a multi-dimensional human being and way ahead of his time. And I'm grateful for the time that he shared with me and how he so graciously shared the screen with me.
Thank you. Now let's go to Brazil. Luciano from UOL.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks. Yep. uh, Boy, they better return it pretty quickly. I, c- I did a lot of running on the I did a lot of running on the streets of New Orleans, and I don't know 10 years from now if I'll be able to chase those bad guys down anymore. But uh, you never know. Like we all know that certainly. But my show was extremely physical, and I'd want to be able to still be be physical. So I guess I'll have to take care of myself better so that if they do make the phone call, I'll be ready to go.
Thanks for your honesty. Next question.
You Nice to meet you too. Thank you. Well, my dad had a saying that he used to say the hardest job in the world is being an honest cop. And especially the way the world is evolving now, when uh, the cops are under a microscope, certainly in our country. It's a tough job. And, the reality is they're good lawyers and bad lawyers, and they're good doctors and bad doctors, and they're good bus drivers and bad bus drivers. Um, and I don't know who wants that job these days to be a cop. I met a lot of cops. So personally, that I met a lot of cops in New Orleans during the time that I was there, and got to know them pretty well. Got to know some of their families pretty well, and I admire them putting on the badge every day and going out and putting themselves in the line in front of the average citizen, to help us all get along and help cities move and breathe and allow people to. I mean, New Orleans is a crazy town. There's a lot going on there, good, bad, and ugly. And they have a way of trying to work with, because it's a small town, really, um, to work with the people, the tourists, the crazy partying that goes on, the Mardi Gras, and all that stuff. It's just an amazingly difficult job. And I tip my hat to them, and I honor them, and I applaud them. And at the same time, if they're cops that aren't doing the right thing, they need to be stopped, and they need to be brought on down on the carpet and called out for it. And I hope that we can do a better job of managing situations, especially that don't need cops to be there with guns, that we can maybe help them not be spread so thin, doing everything, answering every 911 call, and allow them to be a little bit more specific and a little less stretched over, understaffed and understaffed, underpaid, and caught in the line of fire, literally and metaphorically.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you. Uh, there were a lot of difficult scenes to do. You know, the most difficult part of the last season was really trying to figure out how to work around COVID. and our most difficult sequence we shot at the very end of the year in the last episode, and it involved rooftops of New Orleans. It involved the streets of New Orleans. It involved Jackson Square. It involved musicians, bad guys, guns being shot, physical act, fighting, and we were able to organize it we had for the first time all season 300, I think 300 extras. We had 3 different bands. We had to lock off a bunch of streets. We had drone shots. We had everything going on, and it came out as this kind of magnificent sequence, and something we hadn't done for a whole year, and it reminded all of us that we used to do those kinds of scenes almost once an episode. It seemed like before the pandemic. So we that sequence, when you see it, I think you'll understand what I'm talking about. But it was a challenge, and of course I'm having to chase these guys through the streets of New Orleans for a couple of days of running, and happily I survived it.
So we have a challenge. We have 3 questions, and we have 5 minutes. So next question.
Okay, I'll talk shorter. Hello. Hi, how are you? Mm-hmm. The less important what? I didn't hear the last part. The older you get, the less important you are?
¿Puedes decirlo en español, por favor? Got it. Yeah, she would like to know what's your opinion on the older you get, the less opportunities you have in Hollywood. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I think so. I mean, I think the nature of the world is that, as it always has been in our business, that you work less as you get older, unless you're somebody like De Niro or somebody or Meryl Streep or people like that. But short of that, especially on television, there's a need to kind of keep the audience, a younger audience, and the younger audience is going to be attracted to, they believe, to younger actors on the screen that are more of their contemporaries. And so that's the short answer for that. But it's the nature of the beast. I felt so lucky to have 7 years on a show at this point in my career.
Thank you. Next question. We can make it.
We're going to do it. My pleasure. Thanks. Well, that question first. The perspective, I mean, when I first had kids myself, it changed my whole perspective about the business, because when I got home, whether I got a job or didn't get a job, the kids don't care. They want you to be there and get on the floor and play with them and take care of them and love them. So it changed my perspective then immediately. And now having a grandson, it just resumes and reawakens all of those great feelings, with the great joy of being able to hand my grandson back to my daughter at night and go to sleep myself in my own room, and she has to do the night work. The advice to a young actor, me going to New York, I mean, go when you're young, because as the older I get, the more I think I could never do that again. It was crazy, and I shouldn't have done it, and but I got lucky and I made it somehow.
The last question is from Colombia. Jorge Santamaria would like to know if it's true that everyone falls in love with the characters and they want to see that the season finale and the last chapter give them everything they dream of, did you get? I mean, did Pride got everything he wanted in the last season?
Oh no, no. Again, yes, you'd like to feel that when you leave a character that he's done. But I think there's something we wanted to leave the audience with this feeling that Pride is going on, Pride and Rita are going on. The city is going to continue. It's going to get stronger. It's going to get healthier. It's going to get more vibrant. The music's coming back. People are on the streets again. Everybody come back to New Orleans, you know. And so we didn't want to have a kind of wrap it up feeling. We want to say Pride's still down there. He's still solving crimes. He's taking care of the people that he loves, and he's taking care of his city, and that goes on. So yes, I got that. I love that idea. But you know, the Pride's not a perfect. There was no way to wrap it up short of Pride, you know, being in the casket and being at his funeral. That was the end of Pride. I think it's nicer to have just this. Let's just keep going. And I feel that way about all, you know, many of my characters that I played, whether it's Jonathan Arthur, you know, on Enterprise, or whether it's Sam Beckett. It's just they're still out there doing their thing, and I like that.
And we are more happy than you on that aspect, because we understand that this open ending can give us the hope and the opportunity of dreaming that you are coming back to us with more action, more emotion, and that amazing cast, and that amazing things that CBS and you do together with Belisario. So thank you so much, Scott, for being with us. And we just want you to please remind everybody to watch NCIS New Orleans, please.
Everybody, watch NCIS New Orleans, the final season 7. You're going to love it.
Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you so much, CBS and Cady, and everybody else from the press. Gracias a todos y cada uno de ustedes. Muy obrigado. Gracias y feliz fin de semana. Y no se dejen de ver NCIS New Orleans. Últimos capítulos, última temporada. Todo fresco, todo nuevo, solamente por A&E. Pura acción y emoción para todos ustedes. Gracias.
De verdad que eres una mujer muy inteligente. Deberíamos casarnos.
Oye.
Resulta que tengo un hijo de 17 años.
Sí, sería inesperado.
Se llama Connor Davenport.
Quiero pedirte un favor.
¿Qué más puedo hacer?
Necesito un oficiante.
Será un honor.